Hello and welcome to People, Politics and Power, and it is coming to you on your channel of choice, Africa Independent Television, AIT. On the program today, we want to draw attention to the role of culture as a symbol of national cohesion and economic development. Nigeria, a country best described as one with multiple cultures, languages, identities, and histories. The most populous African country with a population of over 180 million people is blessed with a rich cultural heritage, which by extension adds value to our integrity and cohesion. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, put it succinctly at a recent forum when he said that the neglect of culture is responsible for the failure of development agenda of many countries. This is true of Nigeria. What is culture? Now, the Oxford Dictionary of Current English defines it as the arts, customs, ideas, values of a nation, of a people or a group. A school of thought attributes culture to the way of life of the people passed on from generation to generation, from one generation to another. Nigeria is a multicultural society, as typified by its many ethnic groupings. What has been lacking are the will and the intellectual base to harness our rich cultural heritage. And what do? That is what we shall find out very shortly. And we shall begin to approach from the perspective already established that culture can be a major pillar of sustainable development in our society. Now, a scholar once said that every invention is at a point a cultural technology. That is a transformation of a people's way of life to a technological breakthrough. We will be finding out from our guests whether this axiom or this is an axiom or a mere conjecture of the author. If it is true, how then can culture create enormous wealth for a nation like Nigeria, just like oil is doing? Can we really treat culture as our new oil? Our guest, who we shall meet very shortly, once said that culture, which has long been neglected by successive governments, can displace oil on the scale of contribution to the gross domestic product. How? And how quickly can that happen? Well, let me formally introduce my guest, who has joined me in the studio now, a man who was once known as Mr. Tourism. And I think he is now called Mr. Culture, Otumba Olusegun Rushewe, who once turned the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation, NTDC, to a tourist delight, where he is now moved on to become the Director General of the National Council for Arts and Culture. My pleasure to welcome you to People, Politics and Power.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be here.
Welcome. Now, cultural festivals have been described as a useful tool in promoting peace and unity. Now, the Permanent Secretary of Nigeria's Ministry of Information and Culture, Grace Gekpe, said this in Abuja at the Children's Cultural Extravaganza, which was organized by the National Institute for Cultural Orientation. Let's take a listen.
Attire and demonstrations. Children from different schools in Abuja are here to promote the virtues of a united Nigeria in the Children's Cultural Extravaganza. Commenting on the theme of the event, which focuses on culture As a strategic tool for peace, unity, and national integration, the Ministry of Information and Culture believes that though the country is faced with various challenges, peace and unity are necessary ingredients for development, adding that the country's strength lies in its cultural diversity.
We must therefore curb all forms of hate speeches and attitudes amongst ourselves. We must learn that peace, unity, and national integration are the sure ways to building a stronger and better nation for all of us. Our cultural diversity should not pose any form of threat to our peaceful coexistence, but rather should be unifying force.
We see ourselves as one Nigerian, not as Igbo or Yoruba or Tiv.
The children say the event was worth their while.
We should uphold our culture so that we can live in unity, in peace. Different cultures came here to show us what they are good at and for us to learn more about other cultures.
The Children's Cultural Extravaganza is an offshoot of the National Institute for Cultural Orientation Club program for secondary schools designed to inculcate cultural values in children.
All right, this week, Dark Communications PLC has been holding its annual lecture series and awards, and the growing rate of unemployment among youth in the country has been the focus, and that has been traced to what has been described as deliberate moves by leaders to stifle opportunities available to make them that make the youth active participants in nation building. And the keynote speaker at the DAR Awards discourse, which took place in Abuja, Senye Lulu Briggs, says the recovery plan to stem the tide of unemployment will depend on a new mindset that will reawaken a consciousness of dignity in labor. And how is that related to our culture? Let's find out.
When I read the topic, I felt I lived in a different Nigeria from most people. Why do I say this? I say so because the topic acknowledges the fact that the mass of the unemployed has become ready tools in the hands of insurgent groups and other gangs. The topic suggests that there is a possibility that the time bomb can be prevented from exploding. But where I stand, the time bomb has already exploded, at least in the Niger Delta area of Nigeria, which we call South-South. For almost a decade now, in Rivers State, where I come from, we have seen our unemployed youth become fodder for the militant groups and other gangs. The breakdown in law and order, as the chairman enumerated, led to, in our case, internal displacements in several communities in the state, as villages were sacked and razed down. Today, there are tools not only in the hands of militant gangs, but also in the hands of politicians and other ritual gangs, kidnappings, armed robbery, drug use, prostitution, etc., are the order of the day. The youth have become used to ill-gotten and easy wealth. And the challenge now is how can we get our communities back to where we were before the horror that has been foisted on us by the unfortunate situation we find ourselves in. So when I see the topic asking if it is a time bomb, my response, again, is a time bomb has long since exploded, and a state of emergency needs to be declared. Clearly, we owe our youth the responsibility of ensuring they remain resourceful. How can we provide jobs for our youth and get them interested in working for a living? I have some recommendations, and I know that I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but as a starting point, I would advise that will give a holistic attention to this issue of youth unemployment. It really is sad that as Nigerians, we thrive on holding conferences and setting up committees to deal with issues that just need a few people to step up to the leadership plate. Our political leaders, both at the federal and state levels, need to be able to start thinking seriously about how to stem the current tide of unemployment. Now, does that mean the government had not clearly demonstrated the political will to act? Of course, the government has. In my opinion, giving youth money they have not earned only reinforces the kind of behavior in them we want to put an end to. Youth, we're talking about youth. Who are they? In Nigerian parlance, youth has become synonymous with unemployed, unruly men. Mostly men that can be bought and utilized as dispensable tools of destruction that do not carry the responsibility of their actions. Over time, having been so used and dumped, picked up and dumped again by men who may even be in the same age bracket as the ones referred to as youth, they no longer have a cause, nor personal opinion, but they gravitate towards those who give to them at any particular point in time. They usually form youth bodies, and the sole aim of becoming stronger, bigger, and more effective tool is what they strive to achieve. Ready to be used by some other persons, like I said earlier, possibly in the same age bracket, but that person does not see himself or herself as youth in the Nigerian context. Corruption has made it possible for evil to take precedence over good. This is a frustration and there's despair over the whole land. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Albert Einstein said, "Problems created by a level of thinking can only be solved by a higher level of thinking." To reopen and expand our frontiers, we must take account of ourselves before our accounts are taken. This statement needs to be confronted with the right answers. As Socrates, the Greek philosopher, said, "An unexamined life is not worth living." Let us redirect governance to truly productive ends by putting in strong institutions and confronting the cankerworm of corruption in leadership cycles.
Nigeria of our dream, the Nigeria we need, is the united, indissoluble, and cohesive Nigeria which guarantees equity, fairness, justice, and prosperity for its citizens. That is our focus on people, politics, and power. It is fresh, insightful, impactful. It's a must-watch. People, politics, and power on AIT. Join us to build.
Thank you so much for staying with us. And let's remind you once again that Mr. Culture is with us in the studio, Otumba Olusegun Rushewe, who is the Director General of the National Council for Arts and Culture. And we're taking a look at how culture can impact positively on national development. Thank you so much once again for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Let's begin by looking at this issue very frontally. How important and how relevant is culture to our lives?
Well, thank you very much. There are two fundamentals that any country in the world want to make progress: education and culture. They're very key. Once these two are in place, it reduces miscommunication, it reduces poverty of the mind, it reduces not believing in yourself. So culture is key to the development of any nation in the world. I can say for quite some times we have left our culture so open, another part of the world have come to take advantage of our culture. Today, if you ask a young man, you're having a party or something, what kind of music would you like? You hear all sorts of foreign music. Meanwhile, Nigeria has one of the best in the world. The film production level all over the world, Nigeria is number 3. Hollywood, Nollywood, Nigeria has all what it takes. But I can tell you that for a very long time, we allow our culture. You see, when we talk about culture, a lot of times we misunderstand the content.
I was going to come to that because most young people, when you mention culture to them, only think of the fetish practices and all the drumming and all that.
Yeah.
That's what they understand as culture. So we need to properly situate culture.
Yeah. You see, recently, I came up with school uniform. Some schools in Nigeria import their school uniform. They sew them over there. They take measurements in Nigeria and sew it for them. It becomes a class. Oh, my child goes to social school, the uniform is imported from Germany, from Britain, everywhere. You see, we need to understand something, that if we don't believe in ourselves, patronize our own currency cannot even have a good value. You know, there are some countries in the world that even stopped importation for some years. That was defending their culture. They are saying, let's think out of the box, let's think inward. Pick what is our own and capitalize on it. In the history of Nigeria, I think the first golf course in Nigeria was the one in Sapele in 1824.
I was established very near AT&P.
Yeah, exactly, 1824. Up till this year when I introduced tie and die to play golf, we import everything. We buy Nike, we buy TaylorMade, we buy Callaway, we buy Johnson and others. These are brand names. Why can't we buy the Nigerian made? Somebody once accused me that the reason is that they are not well packaged. We can help them to repackage it. Now, like I was saying, today, a lot of people play golf with local content. That means that is one part of our culture. Today, the ordinary tailor is making some incomes. The idea of importing the Callaways, the Nike and others, if you don't patronize your own, they can never improve. We must appreciate the fact that there could be some mistakes. There could be some areas we've not been able to perfect. But you look at what happened. In the year 1979, what the Chinese did, they took all the blind men on their streets that are in schools, etc., and moved them to a village, and they started producing bags. You know, one of the best production staff is those who are focused. And one of the most focused human beings are the blind people. They are not thinking, they are not looking up to seeing anything. With due respect, on a lighter mood, they don't even know if a pretty lady is passing. So they are focused on what they're doing. Now, we continue having conferences, workshops, seminars. These are not necessary in this sector. Also, Omari, I must tell you today, this is one sector that even if you make F9 in school, you are not a waste. You can make F9 in school and be a best craftsman. Look at what happened in Europe. You know, the man who makes the best bed, spreading of bed and setting it up. If a Tiger Woods is coming to London, they will go and bring him to come and spread the bed. He didn't have a BSc. He didn't have an HND. He didn't have a master's degree. But he earned more money than somebody with PhD. That is what we call creativity. So this industry, I must sound a very strong warning, is one of the most important industry that can change the narratives of this country. Reduce unemployment, reduce poverty, and increase inflow of people coming to buy our product. All we need to do is that keyword. What is our brand identity as a people?
Well, okay, now that will require, for you to attain what you are describing now, will require a lot of consciousness building. We have a population as a country of over about 180 million people, and it is said that the younger population, the youth population, is a little over 50% of that number.
Yes, yes.
And this is a population, a very vibrant population, that possibly do not know anything or very little about the various Nigerian cultural heritage.
Yeah.
Now, what must we do to begin to get them to imbibe some of these things and then key into this development agenda that you are thinking about?
Thank you very much. Now we have what we call NAFES, National Festival for Arts and Craft. That is the festival that unites the nation. That's why we take it from one state to the other. Now, since I got into office, we've changed the narratives of how to package. Let me start by commending the Kaduna State government, El-Rufai, Governor El-Rufai, for the overwhelming support he gave. We have changed that festival from what it used to be. It has now over 70% of youth content, which is coming to what you're saying. But before I came to office, it was like 30 to maybe 25% youth content. But I changed it to 70%. Because you see, if you want to change the culture of somebody who's already grown up, it's like breaking a crayfish. It was already broken. You can't get the best out of it. But if you want to mold a younger person before he imbibe a culture, an orientation, etc., it's easier. If you notice, all over the world, if you want to become a footballer, you start from the age of X. If you want to become an artist, you start from the age of X. It's only in our country here that somebody who is already getting to the age of a grandfather want to go and play professional stuff, either badminton, boxing or something. He cannot walk. There's no medication of this. There's no going to any verbals issue of getting some things done. No, you must train, you must develop, you must learn, you must build to get to the place. So, coming back to your question properly, you look at now. Man U, Manchester, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal have more supporters in Nigeria than the whole of Europe. In fact, their jerseys sell more in Nigeria than even abroad. It's because our youth are imbibing the wrong culture. Whereas those days when we were growing up, it was the Mudashiru Lawal, the Odegbanis, the Okala, the Christian Chukus, the this, they were part of us. Today, our league have lost it. That is one aspect of our culture too. So what we are doing now with our NAFEST is to develop a youth content. I just met with the Rivers State Governor, His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, who came out and said he wants us to organize the best NAFEST ever. I love such challenges. I was so impressed. And he made it clear that we need to bring a content to Rivers State that will capture the benefit to the youth. That's one thing we've been living for a long time. We are not capturing what they are doing. I like to borrow from the great Zik of Africa, and I quote, he said, even if Chief Obafemi Awolowo, if the Zik, if the Tafawa Balewas, if the Okparas does not become the president of Nigeria, but let Nigeria remain in unity, they will not be bothered. You can see, these are people that gave selfless service. And you see our national items. He said the labor of our heroes past shall not be in vain. Today, The youth don't even understand some of the benefits of what those our leaders left behind for us. The attitude of keeping heritage, the attitude of understanding the history of where we are coming, where we are, and where we intend to get to is the new strategy my agency is now adopting.
Now, you see, I like to take us back.
Yeah.
When I was, a child, in school and all of that, I recall very clearly that from primary school up to secondary and even up to university level, there used to be school cultural festivals.
Yes.
And it was at that level, like you said, impressionable level, that young people could be either indoctrinated or integrated into a process that will follow them for the rest of their lives. It does not seem as if school cultural festivals are still holding in our educational institutions, whether at primary, at secondary, or even at the university levels anymore. Why is that disappearing from our system?
I agree with you before I was appointed. Right now, in the last 3 months, I have over 27 schools that had their cultural festival. Even last week, pace setters, primary school, they dress in our traditional dress, etc. We are encouraging them now. You see,
we used to have inter-school and even interstate competitions.
Yeah. You see, that's why we now brought the content of 70% to NAFEST. The best student last year in Kaduna is from River State. I was marveled when we went to discuss 2018 NAFEST in Rivers. When the governor offered that child scholarship from the primary school to university with the support of 10 million naira to build up. That is how we can build up our cultural content. Not all the time you must go and play football or play long tennis before they know you are a star. We must bring out the star in our system culturally. I repeat, 2 things make a great nation that they can never joke with: education and culture. And that's why if you see most developed countries today, they use the simple strategy, which is called the SWOT analysis. Strength, opportunity, threat, and all this. But we have left our SWOT analysis. We now are concentrating on our weaknesses and threats, while other nations are looking at their strengths and opportunities. So with the strategy my agency is adopting now, I must commend a lot of the stakeholders. They've keyed into it. For instance, I may use this opportunity to mention it. When the World Cup is on, countries like Brazil, Ethiopia, South Africa, Britain, you will see the whole city, everybody putting on their national color. It has never happened. But by the grace of God, it's starting for the first time in the history of Nigeria. Come Wednesday, I'm launching it. The 3 million culture-friendly supporters of Super Eagle. It's going to be launched in Nigeria. We need to start to celebrate our own. Sometimes, why most nations fail is that they didn't celebrate those that helped in the past, which is we're disengaging now. For the first time, I'm bringing out flags, I'm bringing out more flags, bringing out pins to say we support the Super Eagle. Even if you have your good team, but you don't have the support of the people, if you ask some Nigerian youth today, who is the best player in the world, he will name from Chelsea or not. Meanwhile, we have the Segun Odegbamis, who made this country proud, the Rashidi Yekini, the Okalas, the Christian Chukwus, the Adoke Emesemaka. There are a lot of them, but they never had the opportunity to have gone to the World Cup, which is okay. Now, the generation of JJ Okocha, Erin Wosu and Co. are now the ones that had the opportunity. But we need to uphold our culture as a people, that this is our strength and we must capitalize on them. So during this time, we have been able to bring out so many schools. They're now doing the cultural festival, which is your fair. I know it's a big problem. I know it was wrong, whereby some of our youth cannot even sing our national anthem. It's foreign to them. And some of our youth today will dance
They can't even speak their local language.
No, I'm still coming to that. You see, it's unfortunate. They can't speak their local language, which is unfortunate. But you know the interesting part? Nigeria is the only country in Africa that goes to school anywhere abroad, particularly in English-speaking countries, that will not do extra tests. We are the best in terms of our English, our normal communication skill, etc. But to a disadvantage of us at home, why most of our youth today cannot even speak their dialect. But that, I blame most of the parents. You will see some youth today, they plait their hair, put on earrings, dressed like they are coming from another world entirely. And their parents don't know that we are building up a culture that is not ours. So we are changing all that, and it's making a whole lot of difference.
Okay, let's turn our attention to our traditional institutions.
Yeah.
Very often I hear people say, oh, our traditional rulers are the custodians of our culture, of our heritage, and all of that. How much are these set of people, I mean, these traditional rulers and traditional institutions doing? How much are they doing to assist in entrenching our heritage, our traditional belief systems, and all the other accompaniments of tradition in the younger generation?
Thank you for that very, very incisive question. One of the problems Nigerians we're facing today is that we disconnected from traditional institutions. The traditional institutions, they are the opinion leaders, opinion modelers, and community leaders. They are closer to the people, and they reach them faster. And the people believe in their traditional rulers, be it Igbo, Yoruba, or anything. So when I resume office, I can give you, even as I'm talking to you now, we are doing a document, 1,000 palaces in Nigeria. We have not been able to celebrate our traditional rulers. We have not been able to tell them that our traditional rulers have a role to play in nation development, which is what my office is doing now. Everywhere we have any program, we make sure the traditional ruler in that community is part of it. And it even helps, it adds value, because the people believe in their traditional rulers. Until, recently, some people even take cultural content to some community and undermine the traditional ruler. How then do you get results? It's not possible.
Well, again, for decades, and in fact, in some cases, centuries, Nigerians have lived together. Nigerians of different cultural backgrounds have lived together, have coexisted peacefully together. And suddenly, you begin to see the spike in intercommunal conflicts and the crisis that is spewing out almost everywhere. And one is tempted to believe that the traditional institutions have failed in their responsibilities. We have failed to cohabit, to coexist peacefully the way we used to be as a people in Nigeria, of different and diversified cultural backgrounds. If you recall, our old national anthem spoke about though tribes and tongue differ. We operated and existed as one, but suddenly those tongues and tribes that differed are beginning to be played up more prominently. And this is threatening national cohesion.
Well, I can tell you today that what is happening is unfortunate, but there is no country in the world that has become a champion that didn't face some challenges. Those are some of the challenges we have to face as a people. And I can assure you, we'll get over it. But however, I can tell you here today that I was born and brought up in the North. And I want to strongly believe, strongly, and I stand to be corrected. The Fulani man we knew, the Fulani we grew up with, don't even know what you call a gun. Not to talk of a motorcycle. They're on their way going on the legs. So I am beginning to believe that some foreign movement to destabilize this great country, it's happening to us, which we must come together. Like you said, we've been living together. Why now? I can tell you that if all of us come together as a people, irrespective of our religion, our tribe, etc., and fight this common enemy and tell them, look, we have lived together and we have never had this kind of situation with us, it will be a thing of the past. But however, what is happening now, one fundamental thing we must address is hate speeches. They formulate some of the problems, crises we are facing. Because you are opportune, you are somebody in the society, you make speeches that can incite one community to the other to start fighting themselves. We must need to address them. And what we need to do is one strategy, and that's the cultural diplomacy. Because everybody that is moving on the street belongs to a culture. There is one thing you cannot leave in life, your culture. Even when you get to the airport, you want to pass security check, you will remove your wristwatch, remove your shoe, remove whatever. But nobody ever asks to remove your culture because your culture is part of you. We must sit down and agree. There is no way somebody will come and foment trouble in a state or in a society if there are no insiders supporting them. If all of us said no, and I can tell you, peace will fully return to Nigeria.
Our fault lines being distorted, or rather, our fault lines being taken advantage of or exploited by modernism and new technology.
No, you see, the new technology has its own advantages. You can't run away from that. And Nigeria cannot sit down and be an undeveloped country all over the world. I will share this with you. The first day in my life, I put an ATM card into a machine in London, and money came out of the world from the machine. I was marveled. I said, when will this come to Nigeria? Today, we have it in Nigeria. Some people now take it as advantage of going there to attack, to rob, etc. We must be very careful. Technology is good, but we must manage the technology. As it has its advantages, so it has its disadvantages. So we need to have a monitoring strategy of knowing which technology. For instance, there are some equipment that some countries say they don't want for obvious reasons. You also must check your culture based on the technology you are trying to capture. If you don't, you create more problems for yourself. Now, if you want to take somebody's blood for a check, no more putting syringes in your vein and the rest. It's modern now. You just tap here and you get what you want. So technology is good, but you must also marry it with our culture. Let me borrow from our great leader, Chief Obafemi Awolowo. You know, when the first stadium in Ibadan was put in place, Liberty Stadium, somebody asked him, sir, why are you going into all this in sport then? He said, I quote, a day is coming that sports will rule the world. Today, nobody asks for the qualification of Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods makes more money than even some countries. Today, Gerard is being paid good money. Nobody asks his paper qualification. In what Chief Obafemi Awolowo said then is emanating today. The sport is almost ruling the world. So what I think, honestly, and very strongly, is that we have allowed ourselves to believe in other people. And if you cannot believe in yourself, to progress is very difficult. So we must which is what my agency is doing now. We are built by Tuesday. We are giving certificate to 344 Nigerians who came for free skill acquisition with us. We are doing that almost every state now. I don't believe in, why are we doing workshops, seminars? Nigerians want food on the table. Now, AIT will be invited, they will cover it with their photographs and everything. We train them how to make soap. Now, let me tell you something about culture and economy today. All those people that come on television and speak big English on economic recovery, we are all wasting our time, honestly. If we are talking of foreign reserve and all this, the most important thing is, can we use our local content to get money not going out? Then our currency will be strong. We have women who make soap, who make izal, who make perfume, who make beads, who now have shoes. But you will see an hotel who is relatively a one-star hotel want to import all his soap. It has killed itself by its overhead, while culturally it will have reduced costs. So if a local person can make soap for me, why do I need to import?
So how is Executive Order number 5 assisting you in this direction?
Well, to me, it's helping, but leadership matters. Everybody will tell you there's no money. Nobody will give you all the money you need. You must think outside the box to do something. Government is not Father Christmas. All what I've listed for you now were done during my time. Because I believe if you add value, then people will give you more. For instance, National Assembly members were so happy and they liked some of the product I showed to them during the budget defense. And they're very practical people. They say, oh, if this is what this man is going to do to add value to the lives of Nigerians, then we will have to support this cause. But if you don't wake up, I beg you to use this again. There's an Igbo proverb that says, when a man wakes up, it's his morning. You don't wake up by 12 noon and be competing with the man who wake up by 6 a.m. There's difference. You've lost some hours. But forget about the 6 hours and capitalize on your 12. You can use your 12 to 8 to even achieve more than the person that woke up by 6. But what we have been losing, we have forgotten that we didn't start early. We're starting late. But it's better late than never. But let's make the best use of the late time. It's only here somebody will tell you, that man, he made third class. And so what? In fact, I'm telling you today, I'm looking for people that failed school to come. I need them. They have a very big role in my own industry to work. You don't need to make a first class to produce a bag. You don't need to make a first class to produce soap. These are the disconnection. But everybody wants to put on suit, tie, and said he's having a job. You can't be a self-employed person and still make the best of the system. So to me, leadership matters in everywhere you find yourself.
Well, that of course re-emphasizes the point we'll be making, how our culture, how our arts can add value to our economic developmental process. Yeah. Because there's been this campaign, I mean, this very strong campaign about Buy Nigeria, Patronize Nigeria, and all of that. How much of that, I mean, apart from your agency, for instance, apart from the National Council for Arts and Culture, which other government agency or establishment is towing this line and generating awareness along this line?
You see, I must use this opportunity to thank the Bank of Industry. When I resumed office, within 3 weeks, I must commend the Honorable Minister, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Within 3 weeks, I got a soft loan support for this industry. 300 million. Now, for this industry to excel, you need to have, look, if you sell a barrel of oil today, only a few families in Metama, Ikoyi, and Victoria Island will benefit from it. But if you put 2 million naira into my industry today, you will have empowered over 100,000 people. It will interest you to know today that the capital some people want in this industry is less than 50,000 naira. And they are done. All you need to do is to package them. So on Tuesday, I got one of the best e-marketing company. They are coming to train people in my office free. We are not taking a dime. Because if every sector can check what we are doing now and do it, we reduce unemployment, we reduce poverty. I cannot go and start telling them, this is what you need to do, but they should see the blueprint of what we're doing. On Tuesday, so many Nigerians will smile home. And they can still connect to the 300 million from Bank of Industry. So if every bank in Nigeria today have a soft loan for culture, a lot of them have for agriculture. I have no problem with that. That's for a sector. But the time has come that every bank, from Skybank to Zenith to Fidelity to First Bank to Union, all of them should have a special desk for culture, which is what some other developed countries are doing today. So our art and craft people can start to produce better. They can start to package better. And that's where the export promotion comes in.
Yeah, at least first, let's start with local consumption.
Exactly.
Good quality production, and then local consumption before we think of export. Have enough at home before we think of export.
Exactly.
Which also applies to the film industry that you spoke about earlier on. I mean, the Nigerian film industry is rated number 3 in the world.
Yes.
And here we are at a point government sought to support that industry with some resources to produce more qualitative Nigerian movies that can indeed earn Nigeria some foreign exchange. But it does seem as if there's a disconnect.
The disconnect is that the resources didn't get to the people who should use it. That's the truth. The money that government promised to give to the industry got to the wrong hands. And the wrong hands didn't allow. You see, these are part of the problem. When people say government is not a Father Christmas. In most cases, government have good intention. They have done the right thing. But implementation becomes a problem. So what we are doing and what we're saying now is, if you see, I would like to specially invite you in particular, see what is about to happen on Tuesday in Nigeria. It's a revolution. It has never happened. We're bringing people from the street, people from the marketplaces, come and learn how to produce items free of charge. And after they finish, we empower them. That is better for me than doing a seminar or a workshop. You go and call one professor who will come and speak all the big English. If you're not careful, you get more confused than you left your house by the magnitude of the vocabularies, etc. We don't need all that now. Nigerians want food on the table. Nigerians, look, it's a chain reaction. Do you know that Nigerian arts and craft, finished product, some countries in West Africa come to pick them and fly them abroad and sell them as their own and make the money. This, I have my facts with me. I saw some Nigerian product abroad and I asked them and they said, oh, it's so person. I said, no, this is Nigeria. The person now made a big mistake and left the green, white, green color on it. But they still buy it. So we are now changing the narratives. We cannot wait any longer.
Is there a synergy between your organization and possibly the Federal Ministry of Education in trying to promote vocational training, which is what most other developed countries in the world have capitalized on to develop most parts, various aspects of their national life, technologically and otherwise? We are a third world country, a developing country that is in a hurry. And we need this vocational training as a base, as a springboard to develop.
Yeah, I can tell you this, that to get this right, somebody must start it. I know the Minister of Education, Malada Madamu, is not the kind of man who jokes with projects like this. By the time we start on Tuesday, so many other people will key into it. In fact, you will now find out that more people will be more interested in developing their skill than going to look for a white-collar job. I totally agree with you. Like I mentioned earlier on, education and culture is key. So,
and there has to be a synergy between
yeah, there will be. But you see, don't blame anybody. Now ask the question, why has this not been there before? Because we have leadership problem. Now somebody is there and he said this must be done. So I'm sure the Ministry of Education will now say, oh, for instance, thank you very much for that question. Look at the issue of uniform. We are going to talk to the Ministry of Education. We are even ready to bring tailors to our office to sew uniform for schools so that our tailors can have job to do. Look, if there are jobs for all these artisans and ordinary man on the street too, there won't be anybody, even when there's crisis during elections, to go and start fighting. That will be a thing of the past. We must develop our strength culturally to make Nigeria a different. And that's why I said, oil is good. Oil is good. But culture is better. Because one day oil will finish. But culture never finish. It's with us.
All right.
That's why I say our culture, our pride.
Thank you so much, Otumba Olusegun Runshewe. He's the Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture, and we'll be taking a look at the importance and relevance of culture to national cohesion and development. Culture, they say, is the expression of our ways of living that can facilitate or impede the achievements of our developmental goals, built on a sound vision and values, of course, our worldview of what we think or where we think we want to be. Once, thank you, DG, for finding time to join us on the program. And this is an ongoing discussion. Of course, we must continue to talk about how culture can impact positively on our national development and with us together, diverse people of diverse cultures and languages coming back as one people united in one cause. Well, we must thank you immensely for joining us on the program today. We thank you very much for investing your time with us, and we look forward to being with you again when we bring you a fresh edition of the program. And that will be on Monday, of course. Until then, do have yourself a beautiful weekend and a productive one, a one that is full of cultural expressions. My name is Imoni Amarere. Bye for now.